Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Ambient Talkie, a show where we dive into some weird and wacky equipment and wonderful, call it whatever you want, music. I'm Andy from Two Round Robins, and I hope you're ready for some very resonant things. A quick disclaimer here before we begin. As you can probably hear, I'm a bit under the weather at the moment and having quite massive problems with my sinuses, but I'm feeling hopeful that they will clear up soon. With the whole premise of keeping the show going on and giving the algorithm what it wants, I figured it's a good time where we can do a bit of exploration through this thing here. So this is Wingie 2 by Meng Qi, a stereo resonator with its onboard microphone. It's a pretty little portable friend to your synth gear, and it's fantastic for manipulating all sorts of signals. So for this one, I kind of figured that what we could do is that we could take a look what this thing does and see the way how I incorporate a stereo resonator within my, let's say, more ambient based tracks. Wingie 2 is a successor to Wingie. It's a stereo resonator that did not have a housing at first, but as you can clearly see here with this one, this housing is quite sturdy. In order for it to produce any sound, we must first excite the Wingie. So we can do this by simply opening up the onboard microphones. So if I go with this, you can hear my talking through these little microphones here. And of course, we are only listening to the tri signal. So if you want to hear what the resonances are, if I open it up, you're gonna hear my voice. Or, you can hear the outside audio that's being fed through this microphone. Now, because we're doing a talkie, it's probably best if I basically have something in the line inputs. And Wingie has all sorts, like it has line input and a microphone input. So in the line input now, we can basically hear some field recordings that are going through norns. And we'll try to use line in as the default way in order for me to talk normally and not get distracted with stuff. So let's do an overview of what Wingie is and how it goes. Well, as you can see, it has the onboard microphone like we talked, it has a line in like we talked, and then it has 3 faders. One of the faders is basically, so it's the volume of the incoming dry signal that's going into it. And then the second thing is you will have to use your mix knob in order for it to resonate. And of course you have the decay time of the resonator. And of course with this you kind of have to be careful with the whole volume. Now moving down, what do we have here is basically a keyboard. So you can use this like to change the tones and harmony. And you can also use the octave switches here. Would basically change the octaves of the resonator. And of course, Wingie also has a function of thresholds. Now, holding the R button, you can set the threshold of the incoming audio. So on this one, we have the, I think it's post pre-clip gain. So this is, it's opening up. By default, it's on knee, I think. And then you have, with the L mode, you can use this in order for it to basically have a threshold for the sequencer. And I'll talk about sequencer, that this thing can sequence a bit later. But, you know, for now it's known that we can control the sequencer threshold, we can control the resonator volume and or the clip gain, and we can control the saturation. And quite easily you can see that Wingie can create wonderful drones just by feeding some signals in. And with that, we can maybe move to the scenarios of Wingie. So in this scenario, I'll try to explain how I usually use Wingie outside. Now, being all sick and staying at home, I cannot do this in the field. However, in order for this, I can maybe explain how I do it, and then we can just use a field recording of sorts in order for us to basically, you know, try to simulate what we can do. Now, one thing that's quite bothersome, and it's I wouldn't say a bug, and I wouldn't say really a feature, but it's a, let's say, a disadvantage at some points, is that if you use the onboard microphone and then press this buttons, you can hear it. You can hear the problem quite clearly. You will hear this changes if you want to, let's say, play the environment. So in order for that, what you can do is basically a workaround here is using a field recorder, setting it up somewhere a bit of a distance away from your Wingie and control, and then using the line outputs and just setting it here into the line inputs here, and then using it that way. So in order for that, you can be in the moment, you can basically control, and that's a great, because of its portability, it's a great companion to just, you know, kind of move it around and all that. So without further ado, let's see. I'm just going to use let's say, a little field recording that I'm having played for norns, and we can maybe stimulate what we can do, and we can talk a bit about how the modes are here. So we have some birds, we have some field recordings from outside, and let's see, let's first go with a poly mode here. And I'll just try to change the modes here. So yeah, you can hear them quite clearly. And now, so with poly mode, you can have up to 3 voices playing at the same time. It kind of moves from one to the other. And of course, if we change the octave, this change will only be heard once we play with the keyboard again. Now, there are a couple of more modes. One of them is strings. This is this yellow mode. And now with this yellow mode, you can also have a sequence. And let me just try to see if I can excite it enough to get sequences. Think not for now. Aha, there we go. I think I had it on the wrong way. So now it's the threshold is set very low. So each time a new sound comes in, or I wouldn't say new sound, but the sound exceeds that threshold, it will change the note. So yeah, if you change the octave switches here, you also get quite easily, you can change through the octaves and at a whim. So if we move forward, we come to the bar mode. So this kind of reminds me of Rings by Mutable Instruments. And it's quite ringy. So let's try to see if we can get a nice little thing. The birds are a bit too quiet now for it to really have an effect. And then we come to the cave mode. Now, cave mode is a strange one. It's not really based on any scale that you can do here, but however, with the latest firmware, you can tune it. So you can mute, unmute, and you can tune it. Or you can hear it, how it kind of moves up and down. And we can hear that a bit later with some more heavy signal processing. And yeah, with this, just you can take it out, you can just plug it to a battery and then just try to imagine playing the environment in a sort of a nuanced, lovely way. So yeah, this is it for the environment scenario. Now let's take a look into other different ways. So another fun thing to do is basically using drums to excite Wingie. And this creates a lovely ringy effect. So in this scenario or patch or whatever, I'm using, Castle Drum by Basel Instruments, and I'm feeding it through Wingie. This is a great pair, at least in my own opinion, as it kind of creates a really lovely way of doing it. So for now, let's just open it up. So very, very weird drums with Castle. And this creates quite a nice thing. And now let's see what we can do in order, if we, let's say, for example, use the string mode here. And as you can hear, we can use a sequence as well, because we have it set quite low. And if we open up the K time, so yeah, that's quite exciting. Now let's try to use the bar mode. And now it's kind of going through a sequence there as well. So this can be quite a lovely companion to any sort of gear that, you know, any sort of gear that you can feed into it. And it's like a great little midpoint between your, you know, end effect and your beginning sound source. So in this way, it creates a great way how to incorporate it. Now, moving onward, we can go to cave. As cave kind of works really well with drums, I figured out. So if you kind of go like this, and you can change the cave mode by moving the switches here. Let's say I really enjoy this one. Ooh, you can also, yeah, I forgot to mention, you can also mix modes together. But let's stay on this one, okay? And now you can mute and unmute different caves. So now it's quite like that, and let's open up this one. And we really like this, and if we open up another one, let's say we want a higher option on this one. So we have, I think it's minus and plus here. If I hold plus, oh, I think I need to do it to this. Ah, there we go. We can slow or we can glissando it up. Yeah. So you can create really cool, and this is where Wingie becomes a performance tool as well. It kind of creates this lovely way of incorporating whatever into it. Now, with drums, it becomes really, really fun. But let's move on to other scenarios in order to see what else we can use Wingie with. Wingie also works pretty well with trying to glue in some more unpredictable sounding machines, like I have here peterlin. So here I have it patched, so it's a bit more slow and swally, so let's try to listen to that. So yeah, you can probably hear quite easily how it's just moving from one side to the other. And this creates quite a lovely effect. Now, let's say that we want to home in a bit of harmony with this. What we can do is, we can maybe just use Wingie. So it's now more homed in to, let's say, a C major kind of chord or a D minor. Or a E minor. Now, of course, if we move it to 100%, with this way, you know, peterlin becomes a more, I would say, a more sort of a clock feeder or something, or it's a CV or something. It just kind of like tells Wingie when to resonate in this particular key set that we have scaled up here. Now, of course, it's interesting to see what it does on other mode. So now I have it in D minor. Great, and it sounds so lovely, as you can hear. see. And because peterlin is so portable as well, it becomes a great companion if you want to take it outside and just kind of, you know, play around with it, see what you can do. And this creates quite a lovely effect. So yeah, now we can move on and see what else we can do with Wingie. So in this scenario, what I'll try to do is use Wingie as a solo instrument. It's especially nice when paired with a lush shimmery reverb. You can use the onboard microphone and just play your heart out. I took this idea from a YouTuber called Patches in Blue and it works wonders. So let's try it. So yeah, with this you really need to be careful when it comes to basically controlling the decay and the volume, as it resonates quite a lot. But with this, you know, you can see that there are different ways how to play it. You can bang on the microphones. You can just use the noises from this clicky keyboard here, or you can even blow on the microphones and create something with that. So yeah, hopefully that's been a great way of showcasing that. Now let's see how Wingie holds up to as a sort of a median between an end effect and a sound source. So let's move to another scenario. So in this batch, what I'm actually doing is that in my lab here, I have an acoustic guitar that's hooked up to Wingie in poly mode, and I'm gonna use a D major scale, which is gonna be fed now into the here there script on the norns. Another cool thing is that Wingie also has a MIDI input that I'm basically using now, and because I'm feeding an arpeggiator here from organelle, from MIDI out to MIDI in. So in this way, it will kind of create this lovely, you know, kind of sound or something, I guess. It doesn't really matter. The point is, it sounds beautiful, and I hope you're gonna like it. But just a quick tip here, I'm using mostly mix on the 40%. I do have a low decay time, and I'm using a full-on volume here. So let's just try and see what we can make with this setup here. So yeah, there you go. A few quick scenarios you can incorporate Wingie, and I'm sure you'll probably found a dozen of cool ways how you can use a stereo resonator to manipulate your signal. And if you have any cool ideas, I would really like if you can share them down below. It'd be great to get a few tips from the community as well, so any comments are very much welcome. And apart from commenting, did you know that you can like this video? Crazy, right? Of course, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And most importantly, have a great rest of your morning, evening, whenever you may be watching, and take care.